points. But again, this is mainly going to be when we're on our coordinate plane. They don't even talk about this as doing the midpoint between things on a number line. Remember what a number line was?
Yeah.
What was a number line?
Number.
Basically, a number line would be like our x-axis over here, right? And we would have had numbers here. So if we would have had a point right here and a point right here, could we find the midpoint?
Yes.
We could find the midpoint by just basically taking one or two away from each time that we go, and then wherever our fingers hit in the middle, as long as we went the same distance, that would be my midpoint, right? So the midpoint is basically between the exact half in between the points that we're talking about. Well, kind of, yeah. So the midpoint formula, though, is going to again be found between any 2 points on our coordinate plane. All right? And basically, in a sense, we're going to take the average distance between them. So again, when we're talking about these points, you could take the time to plot them on your coordinate plane and see and count basically where they were in the middle. But again, how many of you are going to take the time to do that? Probably not a lot of you, right? So when you think about this, again, we're going to go back and use our trusty points, which are x and y, and then x and y again. And how are we going to differentiate it? Subscripts. So this is x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2. So again, all we're saying is we're going to do this with any 2 random points, and we're going to call those 2 random points A and B again. So if you go back and think about the word that we wrote up here, it's the average distance between those 2 points. What happens if you take the average of something? How would you find the average?
Add them up and then divide by how many you add.
Exactly right. So you'd add them up and then you would divide. So if we're trying to figure out on our coordinate plane, basically, right? So if we drew this and then we had some random line here and random or points there, but we made a line. Basically, this should be called a segment instead of a line, though, right? Because a line realistically should go where? Into infinity. Remember, right? So these are really between any 2 points. We're not necessarily saying that they make a line at all, but I just wanted to show you where. So basically, we're trying to find the average between those 2 points. That's what we're going to try to do. So realistically, I can make a guess, and I'm going to put an X right there saying, I think that's where it is. Well, we're going to pinpoint exactly what that is through a formula. Okay? And we're going to take the average of that. So how many different points are we working with? 2. So I'm going to divide by 2, just like what you guys said about finding the average of a big set of numbers. All right? So
Why do they make simple things so confusing?
why do they make simple things what?
So confusing.
Why? What's confusing?
You have to find a formula just to get the middle part of the thing.
Well, because if it's on a diagonal like this, you have to have some kind of formula, because there's no way that for me to count. If it's straight up and down, if it's straight right and left, then I could just count and divide by 2. But I can't do that when it's on a diagonal.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, like.
So that's...
So you don't get it.
So my midpoint formula then is, let's use capital M, midpoint, right, is equal to. Now, if it's a midpoint, it's a point. So what should my answer be?
No.
A point, right? So it should be a what? An ordered pair, an X and a Y, right? So when you're trying to find the midpoint, you're going to have a giant parentheses here. Every single answer, your answer has to be written an ordered pair. So if you do not write this, if you just tell me what the x and what the y is, I'm counting half wrong. It's got to be written as a point. Which leads us to our midpoint here. So we're going to have a comma. And what did you say? You told me that it's the average, right? So we're going to add what? What comes first? My x's come first. So let's put a little x of 1 here, a little x of 2, and how many points were there?
2.
2. So we're going to take x of 1 plus x of 2 and divide by 2. We're taking the average of my x's. So what are we going to do with my y's? Exact same thing, right? So here again, think before you answer. So let everybody have a chance to think. Does it really matter the order this time again? Meaning, if I start with x of 1, do I always have to start with y sub 1? If I'm adding and then dividing? Well, let's see. Give me two numbers.
5 and 6.
5, no, give me, sorry, you're right, 5 and 6. Give me two numbers, one positive and one negative. So let's use 5 and negative 6. So if I did this, or if I did this, and then I'm going to divide by 2, would my answer change? Right? 5 plus 6 is, or plus negative 6 is how much? Negative 1/2. And if I did it over here, negative 6 plus 5 divided by 2 is? So does it matter which order I do it in? No. Okay? So realistically, the only time the order really matters is when? Which formula? To find the slope, when we did the difference of the y's over the difference of the x's. Alright? So again, if you can't remember that, then I would always just make sure that I do it with the corresponding subscripts going either first or second. Alright? So, are you okay with the formula?
Yes.
Now we get our points. So, R is negative 2 comma 4. And my other point given to me is S, which is 8 comma 2. So I'm going to take those points and I'm going to stick them into my formula, right? Into my formula. So, which one are my x's?
Negative 2 and positive 8.
M equals negative 2. Now we're always plus and a positive 8. So again, this is where it starts to get a little complicated. Which one uses a plus sign? Which one uses a minus sign? Which one doesn't matter? You know, that's where you got to stop, slow yourself down, and really start to think. I know that bothers some of you. So don't forget, we're always going to take the average, and there's only 2 points, so we're going to always divide by 2. What are my y's then? 4 plus 2 divided by 2, and then I have to make sure that I simplify. So it's negative 2 plus 8. 6 divided by 2
3.
gives me 3, comma. Now we simplify over here. 4 plus 2?
6.
6 divided by 2?
3.
So again, just because they're the same number, I still got to write them both, and I have to write it as an ordered pair. So, again, if we came over here and we showed this, where would I go to plot R?
To the left 2 and down, up 4.
Perfect. Left 2, up 4. So, again, I erased my numbers because of the test tomorrow, but we put one right there. And then how do I plot S?
To the right 8 and up 2.
8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what'd you say?
Up 2.
Up 2. So, we got as our answer what? How do I plot that?
To the right 3, up 3.
To the right 3 and up 3. And then if I would get my ruler out and connect the dots, did it work?
Yeah.
Looks like it, right? Oops, don't want to go over that point. And then we would just show that we got our point, and it looks like it's about dead in the middle. So realistically, the only way that we can reassure ourselves is probably getting a ruler and measuring these ones. Now again, if it's straight up and down or if it's straight left and right, then I can just do the counting and I don't have to do the formula. And it should still work and you should be able to see what you get. Yes, sir. What? How are you going to count it?
Because it's a diagonal line, there's no equal squares going in a single direction.
How do I know what this amount is to this amount? I don't know that.
What?
Especially if I don't draw a line.
Well, I mean, you know the point, but like, if you count, you can take longer.
Okay, you try counting the next one and see if you get the same answer that we get. Okay? I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just.
No, I just say,
You can never count on a diagonal.
but I can count the parts that like break it up.
There's no.
You can do what?
I can find the answer. Like if you give me those, I can just do a thing and just try to get to the middle of it. And,
But that's what we did. We got the thing and got the middle of it.
but I mean, you can count by.
Wait, you mean?
And you're saying if you went, maybe use the slope, down 1 and 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, then down 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, does that automatically mean that it's dead in the middle though? Every single time?
It might work this time, but other ones are in the middle.
So yeah, you can count with the slope, but I can't physically just count the spaces.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Okay?
So you can't count like the in between boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Alright. So, let's try another one by yourself here. Let's do R is 3 comma 6. Or sorry, negative 6. And S again is 1 comma negative 4. So try it out, tell me what you get. Now remember, here's the other thing that as you're going through this one, if you would do this problem here and you get 0 on the top, what's my answer for that coordinate? 0. I'm always going to have an answer on this one because I'm always going to divide by what? 2. So the only time it's no solution is when 0's on the bottom. So for whatever reason, again, it bothers people when we get, when we get 0 on the top. Also, 0 is an answer, 0 is a number, right? It just tells us then that we would be on the one of the axes. Okay? So, and again, I know some of you think this is arbitrary and it's easy math, but I would definitely write things down. The more you write down, the more that you're going to help yourself along the way. So, what'd you come up with?
Two and negative 5.
Negative 6 plus negative 4 is negative 10 divided by 2. Remember, one negative and one positive always makes a negative. Okay, 2 negatives, we should never have 2 negatives when we're dividing today because the bottom's always going to be positive 2. But again, if this happened to be a 0, then this is 0. And that's okay. 0 is a number. Go ahead.
So for these problems, is the midpoint always going to be like an exact number? Remember?
For you, I would guess it's going to be, yes. But if you got this to be a fraction, you can just leave it as a fraction, even an improper fraction. You know what I'm saying? So right now, they've all been even numbers on the top. But if I got 7 halves and negative 3, I can leave it as that, as an answer. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can leave it just as 7 halves, or you can turn it into 3 1/2. All right. So yeah, you might have, and I don't know, I can't remember on the assignment if you got some of those, but it could happen that way. All right. Questions here? This one's not too bad, hopefully, right? Okay. So again, we had short